Yeah.
I feel like that could be important, and I feel like that's what makes it dangerous, right? Because you are going to avoid going
Mm-hmm.
as long as possible. I mean, that's like what we keep saying about like having the for-profit healthcare system,
Yeah.
right?
And
You're just naturally going to avoid going to the doctor until you absolutely can't avoid it anymore.
yeah, or that story we posted up on the subreddit. We didn't get to talk about it yet. The Tyson food thing.
Hmm.
I mean, what the what the fuck are these people thinking if they see a story like that where these people were? Let me find this shit. Fucking subreddit. All right, there we go. We got a video.
I'm just looking at this. The Fed canceling all those lending programs. Did you see that?
Hold on, let me.
What is that shit?
There's the Tyson food thing. Look, check it out.
Oh.
Let me. They're not talking or anything, but like, so Tyson Foods was accused of betting money on how many workers would contract COVID-19. So it was a lawsuit that was tied to an Iowa pork plant where more than 1,000 workers became sick and at least
Yeah.
five died of the virus after being forced to report
Yeah,
to
they
work.
forced them to work.
Yeah, they
Remember that?
forced.
It was early on
Yeah,
they did it. That was
yeah,
one of the few things they used the Defense Production Act to do, was to force these poor bastards to go to work when they were sick.
yeah. And then, but I mean that's bad enough. But then they're over here placing bets on who would get it.
How do they know that?
Look, well, let's see what it says. So, a wrongful death lawsuit tied to COVID-19 infection at Tyson Foods' largest pork processing plant accuses the meatpacking giant of ordering employees to come to work, while supervisors privately bet money on how many would get infected with the deadly coronavirus. You see, the family of Isidro Fernandez filed the lawsuit in August, saying Fernandez was exposed to the virus when he reported to work at the Tyson plant in Waterloo, Iowa. Fernandez died in April from COVID-19 complications, leaving behind a wife and children. Fernandez was one of at least five Waterloo plant employees who died of the virus. More than 1,000 workers, over a third of the facility's workforce, became infected, according to Black Hawk County Health Department. The lawsuit filed in Black Hawk County claims Tyson is guilty of willful and wanton disregard of workplace safety, and accuses the company of endangering employees by downplaying virus concerns and covering up the outbreak in order to keep them working. Yeah, and then look at
I
the
just don't
and
know how they
this was
knew.
a see there was
How
a
did they
no.
know they were doing this
See,
though?
they amended to include new allegations against the company and plant
Oh.
officials, and one of them, the supervisor at the plant, began wagering money on how many workers would
Hey,
get
look at the
sick.
next line.
So it
Yeah.
says the workers reportedly accused plant manager Tom Hart of organizing a cash buy-in winner-take-all betting pool for supervisors and managers in mid-April to guess how many plant employees would test positive after being forced to report for work. According to Capital Dispatch review of the amended suit, the reported betting poll occurred at the time of that the Black Hawk County sheriff Tony Thompson visited the plant and said working conditions shook him to the core.
Mm.
And let's see what else it says here. Um, they were told they explicitly told supervisors to continue showing up to work, even though they were experiencing COVID-19 symptoms, referring to the deadly virus as a glorified flu, telling workers everyone's going to get it. According to the lawsuit, Casey stopped a sick supervisor on their way to getting tested and ordered them back to work, saying, "You have a job to do." Managers reportedly allowed one employee who vomited on the production line to continue working and return to work the next day, according to the suit. Jesus, yeah, Tyson Foods did not immediately report the Huffington Post request for comment. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. S Yeah, to moving the federal court and remains open because Donald Trump's order requiring plants to stay open in order to maintain the nation's meat supply. Well, see, they ended up closing after a massive coronavirus outbreak in Waterloo. More than 180 infections were linked to the plant at the time of closure. According to Black Hawk County Health Department, the plant employs 2,800 workers. Damn, man.
Fucking, they're Bernie voters too. Remember? Right?
Yeah.
It's like one of the nobody had ever approached those, like the meat packing industry
That.
in Iowa, and then they went out there,
Mm-hmm.
the middle of the night when the shift ended, and met the workers and talked to them about caucusing, and then they had that satellite caucus, um, and then the,
Yeah,
you
here
know,
we go. So pandemic raging. Fuck it, we need to grill, which is ironic with all of this because slaughterhouses where a lot of these type of illnesses thrive.
I
Yeah,
mean, it doesn't sound like it was you're able to get it from
from
like a guy
consumption
who
from
had it
from
touching
consuming
your
the
meat.
meat, but just
Yeah,
seems like the workers themselves were in danger from having to be forced to work. I mean, how
yeah.
sick and based do you have to be to bet on fucking people getting sick?
I mean, it sounds like
Or do you think
that
it was? Or maybe okay,
it sounds like they
maybe I'm
thought it
wrong.
was just like, I think he literally thought it was a glorified flu,
I mean,
back in April. Like,
man, I don't know. I have a hard time wrapping my head around it. I mean, okay, April.
it was just in New York,
Yeah,
in
but even
Seattle.
By April, people were still already dying.
Yeah, but you think people mostly thought it was like weird old people and like flukes and stuff like that. I don't think people thought it was going to kill this many people.
It's how the
Like,
American flu of 1918 started. Kill houses in Kansas City near the army training bases. Recruits brought that shit to the East Coast on their way to Europe, in which we spread it there. They call it the Spanish flu because the Spanish were the only ones saying,
yeah,
"Yo, there's a pandemic coming."
yeah, that was us. Yeah. Um,
Well, okay, so at that point in April, where were we in the pandemic? Because it was
I
already
think
bad.
we
Because
had
we were
already
already.
had
I mean,
shutdowns. Yeah.
we were already talking like they needed to delay the voting. I remember that because
Yeah, that's
yeah,
right. I remember
because shit was
that.
already spreading. To the
The
point.
28th.
And if you see your workers already getting sick, and you see one even throwing up on the line,
Yeah.
at one point or another, doesn't you don't you have some kind of conscience?
Yeah, they were trying to go home. They wouldn't let them. It
No,
sounded like
no,
the workers were trying to.
no. I'm talking about the people
Oh
above them.
no,
Like, don't they have
no,
some kind of conscience that their fucking workers are
no,
throwing up? They're sick.
no. Yeah, they don't care. They like I said, they're like fungible to them, right? Like, oh, like we'll just get some other immigrant, like some other like illegal or whatever, like uh, that's they literally would prefer that, right? They only want them to work there, for a short amount of time as possible. So they have to give them like less benefits. Like these are like I keep saying every night, I say this again.
Hmm.
The country is run by the worst people imaginable, like the worst people
And
you
like,
could dream
and the
of.
way they divided it up, there was like managers and supervisors on a cash buy-in pool.
Hmm.
Like executives, and then all the
Yeah, it was
underlings
like
could just go. I mean, what
yeah, it
the?
was like March Madness. Probably because the basketball was canceled, right? So they had to have
Yeah.
their own tournament.
Look, exactly by then. Like, if they cancel fucking March Madness, at least by that point you realize it's fucking serious.
Yeah, I mean,
So I don't really buy at that point that they were thinking it was anything else. If they
I
thought
mean,
that, then they're fucking idiots by then.
everything is everything. Dude, fucking Brian Kemp, the mayor of Georgia, like, didn't know that you could be asymptomatic until, like, later than that, right? Like, super late into it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
in the summer, you remember, like, somebody, like, pointing that out to him in a news
Mm-hmm.
conference and him, like, literally figuring it out on the spot. Like, they have, like, think about the recording with Trump, right? Like, we didn't know that until after the fact, right? They believed him when he said it was no big deal. It was just like the
Right.
flu. Like, MAGA country believes everything he says.
They go.
Like, he's like literally the highest authority in the country,
Here,
Um,
let's see. Fuck no, Tony. I told you all. The second Guitar Center was told you could have 25% capacity. We were open with no hazard pay increase, and the only thing they did for the sales per hour was not hold it against you for performance evaluations, of which there are none, no raises yet. Like I told y'all, your book still got burned.
um,
It's just fucking. It's a ball breaker to think that people operate like that, man.
they all operate like that.
You
I'm
know.
telling you, like, they in more or less, right? Like in varying degrees, in non-specific situations, but that's I'm saying. They're trying to think that's what they want. They want everybody to be in that situation where
Yeah.
you're just so perilous. Like they prefer if they had a system where they could deport, like native born people too, right? Like they want to be able to like abuse you, use you, and then cut you loose with no, liability or, benefits or anything like that. Like it's they want to treat, the American worker like,
Mm.
the Foxconn workers in China,
Yeah.
right? Like just completely, you know.
Let's see. All these companies doing that now, they got their excuse to crush labor now on the costs and explore new shit. Um,